What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. It's your boy Deep Rhythm, and we back with another video. And today we got a special video for y'all. Today we want to talk about a few different things we got going over through, our minds, and we got to go ahead and let get to the subject of today's video, right? So today we want to combine a few different things, right? The first thing we want to talk about is the aspect of appliance in central nervous system functions. We want to talk about basically the active appliance and the active movement of central nervous system functions. Okay, so sort of. So that is basically what we want to talk about in this video right here. We want to break down movement, coordination, and the appliance, the active appliance of just being in live function. With specific systems in place. So now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. I hope y'all doing good. And we're going to have some gems in this video. So let's go ahead and get to it, right? So in this video right here, when we talk about really just, pursuing in pursuit of just active functioning, and whatever it is that we do, certain things have to be in place in order to get the effect that you want to get out of your own functioning. So sometimes, those days when you wake up, you may commit to a function, you might be sluggish, or you might be whatever. You might be sluggish. You might not want to commit all the way to whatever it is you're doing. Some days you may feel like you're off and you don't know why. So there's many things that could cause this to happen. It could even be some simple things like your nutrition, the side that you slept on coming out of your bed, in your bed when you went to sleep at night. It could be subtle things, even possibly that you could have, maybe even a conversation you might have had last night or something. I don't know. Like, basically, there are many factors that could play a part to the functionality in what you do in a day, right? And the feeling, right? Sometimes you may wake up and be like, oh, I don't want to do this. Maybe I want to do that. And it's the thought of understanding these things and how little subtle things can create a drastic change in your performance. So that is the number one thing we want to talk about in this video, along with a few other things. It's subtle things that could dictate. It's your performance, basically, and just how you perform, right? You know what I'm saying, in terms of committing to an outlet, right? So functionality is what we want to talk about as well, right? Training your corrective exercise and functionality, right? The benefits of these things, of functionality, training yourself functionally, doing functional trainings and mental trainings, and doing also corrective exercise trainings too as well, which can line you up for success, for some good success in terms of functioning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into this subject, right, of functionality. So there's a lot of things we want to talk about. We're a little scatterbrained, all over the place, but we're gonna go ahead and just go ahead and dive deeper into this aspect of functionality, and we're gonna talk about in terms of your like lining yourself up and things like that. So let's go ahead and talk about this, right? So you know, as someone, as a basketball player, for me, right, I know there's many things that I need in order for me to even be able to, get up and function, right? So I know, like, when in terms of, your ability to do the things you need to do, it's important to understand that in regards to, it's important to understand, like, in regards to, like, the things you may want to do or the things you may do, especially if you're someone who's trying to craft out themselves and be someone who, who has a lot of ideas, right? And wants to bring those ideas into fruition. You have to understand something, right? So subtle things are important, right? You have to be able to have subtle, you have to take care of subtle business and have the little things, your details in place, because details can have a major effect on the performance of just, how you function in your systems and in the productivity, and the the quality of your work and the quality of what you're producing could have an effect as well. And even your mind and your mental ability to even get in the right spaces, in order to commit to the function. And that's the most important thing is leverage and being able to leverage yourself into whatever systems or whatever outlets that you need to leverage yourself into in order to commit to those systems. But anyway, like I was saying, it's important to understand the aspect of details, because details is what has a huge effect on leverage and your ability to get into these spaces and actually commit to the functions and that you need to commit to, and improve the quality of improve the quality and have good quality in your work, right? So that is important, and even to get into those spaces, period, and even to focus, which is very, very crucial in terms of whatever you're trying to carve out. So that's important too. That's important too, and that's what we want to really discuss and get down to talking about in this video, right? It's just subtle things, details, that really help and improve and make it that much easier to stay in those spaces that you need to stay into in order to get your work done, right? So first thing I want to break down and talk about, because this is a lot of things, right? Is yourself. The number one discipline that you have is being disciplined to yourself. That's the main thing to understand and to have. Before any discipline, it's discipline to yourself. Meaning that I understand where I've been, I understand where I've come from, I understand where I'm going to, I understand the spaces that I've been in, I understand the spaces that have affected me and my life, and I understand the spaces that have made me who I am, and I understand the spaces that that my soul just remembers, or it speaks louder to my soul, and I understand my duty to people who I resonate with, right? So that's the number one discipline, right? It's a discipline to your story, your experiences, and your people, so that is the number one duty, right? It's this, and then understanding those spaces that I've been into, who I am, and growing who I am, and that is the number one discipline to have is growing those spaces, who I am, Uh, and how can I support and help, the next generation of people, or the other, other people who, resonate, who look like me, or are like me, right? How can I help these people, right? Because I can help them the best, right? So that is the number one crucial thing, and it's being able to conceptualize everything that way, right? And barreling down into that aspect. And you know what I'm saying? And the next thing I want to talk about is interpretation, or it is so very crucial, right? In terms of this aspect, right? Interpretation, right? Your ability to communicate, right? In between different languages, right? Languages being, I may, go into someone, when I go, when I go into the store, in terms of like working at some sort of corporate, some retail store, right? The language is different than the language that you would speak to an athlete. The language, interpretation, right, is so very crucial, and that is the most important crucial thing, in my opinion. I think in business, and I think in just success, is interpretation. So of course there's other factors beyond interpretation, like your will and ability, but I think for a lot of people, a lot of people are dealing with not an ability problem or an energy problem to do something. It's an interpretation problem, and it's a communication problem, and it's a language problem, not being able to conceptualize the things that they hear, right? So I think this is the biggest problem that some people are facing, in terms of like how they're progressing is in their ability to actually productively do things, and productively excel in scale, is due to interpretation of language, because their language is not the same language, and as other people. And I think this is a huge, this is what some people are dealing with, because not everybody speaks the same language, and what may be something that scales somebody else up in terms of language, may not be the right motivation that the other person needs. And the truth is right in front of everybody at all times, right? The truth is always in front of you. You don't need somebody to tell you the truth. It's the way they tell it to you. You know what I'm saying? That is what interprets, a person, right? So what I mean is so language, right? So interpretation, right, is we all come down to earth, and with an agenda, right? Our soul, right? And the soul is always in a constant state of interpreting things, if you let it, right? It's always interpreting things, and it's always somehow that everybody somehow, when they think about something, and the first thought they have it always ends up being the right one. People, I'm gonna put it like this: the soul is never wrong. Every time you have a first initial thought about something and you let the soul speak, it always comes up with the right answer, right? In terms of what it is you need to be doing. And it's always going to come in the form of your language. But the thing is, it's like now sometimes we spend so much time trying to get the answer from somebody else. We go to the scientific person, and we let the scientific person tell us this. We let people tell us 2 + 2 = 4. I'm going really deep into this video right now, but I'm going to come around full circle. If y'all know me by now, y'all know I come back full circle. But we all believe that 2 + 2 = 4, or that Isaac Newton, or whatever his name was, saw gravity. He saw gravity in motion, or whatever. Something hit the ground and called it gravity, right? And that's what that thing is called. Or even the aspect of I ain't gonna say that, but you see what I'm saying, right? Gravity, right? But the thing is, and the truth is, what you conceptualize as gravity, I may conceptualize as something else, because I may apply it into a different function. What I mean by this is, say, take a tree, for instance. Okay, so now you may call it a tree, aka a supplier of fruits. I may call it a tree, a supplier of air or oxygen, or clean air. And that functionality of it being clean air is what I utilize for it to apply directly to me in my systems. You know what I'm saying? And how I function. And I don't need nothing else from it. I just need that, because that's how I apply it to my system specifically. I'm just using this as an example, right? Not I just use that as an example, okay? That's what you conceptualize it as, right? It's just tree, or it's air. So now take that aspect of it and take about the information that you learned, right? So when you receive information from somebody, right? Most times, a lot of times, people give you the direct information in the aspect of people give you information in the aspect of just, almost in a general sense, right? You get a general sense of information, and it's just like, okay, I take this information, I'm downloading it, and it's like, okay, this is a lot of information, right? Cool. I learned a lot of things, but I really didn't learn anything, because it wasn't interpreted, and it hasn't yet been interpreted in my language, right? So where's the interpretation? And it's like, this is the true, like, most important thing in terms of a person being able to scale and utilize information and apply it to their life, and actually actually get some fruit out of it, like some fruitful benefit out of that information, right? Long term. It's interpretation, right? In the direction that their soul wants to go, right? Now, you can get information from people and apply it directly, cool, and probably make some money. But the only way to apply this to the direction of your own soul is if it interprets right. You know what I'm saying? So business and economics and all these terms that they have, to conceptualize in terms of what money is. Money is called, this, and, there's this thing called cash flows. There's this other thing called capital investment, and, all these other terms that they have that have descriptions that may not necessarily coordinate with you and how you do business. Okay? So how you do business information might interpret different, right? Because you might not be someone who's just trying to, create this business and lure all these people in to just make money off them and hire a bunch of people, to do the work for you. You might not be that type of person, right? You might be just looking for land, right? You might just want land and want space to, and you commit a service, and in that service that you commit, it's just, how it's how you make money. But anyway, so the terminologies, that's put in place or structured in terms of when we speak of business, it doesn't necessarily interpret the same or interpret correctly for people. Therefore, that is why it is so difficult for people to actually get into, and understand, like, sometimes financial literacy, I guess, and some other things, if that's what you want to call it, becomes difficult to learn, because it's not being interpreted in their language. And and in the language that they can understand it in, that they know, the language that they know, right? Because you could be coming from a space of a space of anime and a space of being an athlete in cartoons, and art, right? And maybe a space like this, some things don't interpret the same, language is different, right? And that is the key thing I really wanted to speak on and talk about in this video, right here, right? I think this is one of the key points in this video that I really wanted to discuss is language and interpretation. Because without proper interpretation of what it is, whatever subject that you're getting into, there's no way that you can properly be able to utilize this information and apply it directly into what you're trying to build. And that is the difficult, so that is why it's so important and so crucial to understand your language and being able to conceptualize your language. To that way you can be able to apply other information and other things you see and recognize and identify these external things within your own language and in your own constructs. And this is what the soul does automatically. The soul automatically interprets things in your language. So that's why the soul is never wrong, right? Because, so for instance, right, you could be walking around and see a tree or see some other type of thing, right? And your soul call it something else, right? This is a, I don't know what this is, it could give it a name, right? But whatever name it gives it, it's already description. It's already descripted. Its characteristics and its appliances. The characteristics and appliance of it has already been descripted, and a name has been given to it, and it's going to function this way, right? And and that's just it. The soul is never wrong, because it this is what it's going to do. And then, like, when you get to another, like someone else, when you get to, I guess, the generalized name of it, it's going to have the same. It may have the same description to it. It's going to have the same description, or same characteristics. Maybe with a different appliance. But I wanted to talk about this because I also wanted to talk about how the soul applies things, right? The appliance of things, like I said previously before, can be different from between you and somebody else. So what I mean by that is, I could take information and apply it, and apply it and utilize this object or this item a specific way. I may utilize it a specific way. So for instance, right, an external person may be able to, utilize it differently, right? But for instance, right? So say for instance, say, I was just born and I just grew up in some place in Africa, right? For instance, and I was just, walking around and I would name things, right? I would just name things. Instead of calling it a tree, I would call it something else. And that doesn't mean that it's not that something else. It's still, it can be a tree and it can be this something else, right? I could call it a la or something, a lamb. I call it like a lamb or something, right? And I could just say this tree is lamb, okay? And I can take this tree, and I that's the name that I gave it, but it's still the same thing, right? You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, but so it's like when are people really wrong? You know what I'm saying? It really brings the question, and it really narrows down the general vicinity of the topic of what is right and what is wrong, right? What is right and what is wrong? Because what somebody calls one thing, somebody can call another. Notice how when people give information on the internet, 9 times out of 10 nowadays, it's like they're never wrong, right? And it's because of the fact that the way that they interpret the information is different. The way that they're interpreting and applying the information might be completely different than, he say or she say or somebody else, right? So it's the interpretation that is really it's the interpretation, and it's the language that information is being spoken, that really makes the difference between a person being able to apply it or not. And I think that is language in interpret. I think that and that is the very characteristic of life that people need to understand, that we need to understand. There is just truth. There is like truth, for instance, is scientific, right? Certain things scientific, what I'm saying? Your body has blood, right? And in it, right? And your heart beats, and you want your blood levels to stay at a specific rate, or you want to stay hydrated, like you want to drink water, or what I'm saying? And things like this is scientific. These are scientific things, for the most part, that that's truth, right? That's truth. Scientific, like that's truth. But what's not truth, but like the interpretation, what somebody interprets can all be truth because of its appliance, and how it's utilized within that person's systems. So this is what I wanted to talk about, is interpretation and communication. So in terms of communicating with others, and even communicating and understanding yourself, right? And understanding the information you gather from others. It's a matter of being disciplined to yourself, being disciplined to yourself and understanding your language, and that way you can interpret the information that you receive, like we said before. And like I said, this is very crucial. And even and as a kid, you give things names. That's one of a kid what a kid always does. It gives things gives things names, right? You give things names so that way you can identify what it is to you, right? And when you can identify it, then you can apply it directly into your life, and how you utilize it. But if you go around trying to generalize things, and you go around saying, trying to generalize things in a specific way, like, you take from your original understanding of what these things are, and it can be dangerous when dealing with a specific language, right? When dealing with certain languages. So that is why it's so crucial to be wary and understanding of language and interpretation, because that's what's going to scale you further than anything else. It's your ability to interpret things. It's not about saying things in a smart way, that people can, I guess, say that you're smart. That doesn't really do anything for you necessarily, but make you look and sound smart. And it really doesn't do anything for the majority of anybody listening, because they can hear all the information and stuff, but what good is that information if they can't interpret it? That they can't interpret it directly into their language. So it's better to just speak your language and let your language just override whatever it is, what I'm saying, you trying to, whatever the subject is, whatever you're trying to say. So that is the one aspect I've been trying to say. But whew, man, we got to get back on this thing, man, because we were struggling to get that point across. But that is what we mean when we speak language and interpretation, right? What I'm saying? Your ability to understand language and your language and being able to interpret other languages. You know what I'm saying? That way you can apply that information that you get from them languages perfectly and precisely into your language and what you're trying to do, right? You know what I'm saying? And that is the key important thing, language, right? It's your ability to accurately apply that information, you know what I'm saying? Whatever information that may be from whatever source, you know what I'm saying, to your outlets, your systems, your home, your language, right? So that's what we wanted to talk about right there. Language being the most, important thing. And the other thing we also wanted to talk about, regardless of language and in terms of scaling your functionality, that is the number one thing is language. That, that's the number one thing. Like if you're trying to grow something, like I said, man, like, in terms of just growing yourself, like, creatively, like your ideas and your imagination and, whatever you got going on, you trying to like, manifest that into the physical, language. It is the most important thing. That's the most important thing if you're trying to do that, man, is being able to conceptualize the language and then just being able to apply from, whatever space you receive that imagination from, or those ideas from, and organizing them to and understanding the language, right? That way you can sort and categorize and build from your systems, right? You can build your you can build your tribe, your environment, you can build yourself from that language. But anyway, other than that, last thing, man, the other thing we wanted to talk about other than language, man, because that's the most crucial thing, is subtle things, man, details, like we said before. But that ain't as crucial. I don't think that ain't as crucial as language. Language is by far the most important thing, right? Because if you can go back into the imaginative space that you had, and imagine if instead of you taking so much time trying to speak the language and speak their language and talk the way that they talk, or talk the way that everybody else talk, if you would just talk the way that you talk, right, and conceptualize things in the way that you do and your soul does, and use your terminologies, you would get that much further and that much more scaled in life. Just just because you understand things, right? And you don't have to waste time trying to conceptualize things you already know that you need to be doing and progressing to, and causing all the and spreading all that confusion in between your own mind, due to the fact that you're trying to interpret this other language, right? So that is the other thing, right, that we want to talk about. So crucial, is just literally the amount of time you could have spared just by simply just saying, like, okay, I got it. My soul just interpreted the way that it interprets it, and I'm just going to go off that and forget everything else, right? None of that stuff is really important. I'm just going to go strictly based off of my own soul, right? Because it is, and okay, this is this, and I can keep going. And look, that's a great. It's almost like it's already in perfect balance in between your activity, what you do physically, and what you need to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Already interpreted in your language, in the language that you can conceptualize, so you can do it, right? So built in, just like that. So it's like you built in with that, right? Um, and really the aspect of quote unquote knowledge is really just language, right? Because the more you get that way, right, with language, the easier it is for you to communicate with others, right? What you're doing. Okay? The easier it is for you to be able to communicate into different spaces and, generate, probably expand on more business potentially, right? So that is that's probably it, right? That's probably the benefits you really get out of understanding things beyond your own language. But other than that, most important thing is definitely your own language. And if you would just stick to your own language, you would scale yourself that much faster and stay that much more disciplined to your own systems, just by narrowing down your language, right? Keeping it just you, in your soul's language. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, that is a very, very, very crucial point. And I think that one is very, very powerful if you just sit back and touch that one for a second, right? Just hold that one hold that thought for a second. Let that process, over a few times for a second, right? What I just said. So what was just said. So that's the crucial thing right there is language. And if you were to narrow down your language, right, how productive would you really be? But anyway, yeah, that is crazy, right? That is so very crucial, right? I think a lot of us would be billionaires already, millionaires and billionaires already if we would just stop trying to conceptualize things in other stop trying to learn information and just let it conceptualize through our own soul and just go off that, specifically that and nothing else. We'd all be millionaires by now. But anyway, other than that, other than that, in terms of language, very, very, very crucial. Language is everything, man. It's everything, man. Language is everything, man. So that's the thing. That's the important thing to understand. Language is just about everything, and in terms of your development. I mean, of course, there's a few other things that you can do to better, stay focused and to better, commit to your own disciplines and things, and commit to your own self. Like we said, language being and interpretation being one of the things that can help you stay more disciplined. It breeds discipline. Is language. And it's just language, because now you're getting the fullness of everything that you internally want to make sure you're doing, everything you internally want to do, everything you internally you desire to do is now being interpreted, or conceptualized as along with what you need to be doing, right? It's a perfect balance. And it's just that much easier to do things just by committing to information based off your own soul and your own language, right? So that is a process right there, is just understanding your own language, categorizing things, like I said in my previous video, categorizing things and naming things in the way that you not only you conceptualize, but how you register things, right? From your own deep inner spaces, right? From your own deep inner spaces, right? How you conceptualize things, so that is very important to understand, and you know, following that psychology and following that train, very crucial, very beneficial, right? And that is the biggest difference maker in terms of a successful person, a person who's able to scale themselves, and a person who's actually able to get out and actually do those things, and a person who doesn't, is language. Language, right? It's language. Interpretation. The interpretation, right? The interpretation. So very powerful. The most important thing, and very much definitely probably the very most important thing that we need to be spending time on. For real. It's probably the biggest thing that we need to spend the most time on, for real, if I'm being honest. For a lot of us, and for most of us, it's spending the most time on language. And sorting and categorizing and compartmentalizing things that way make the biggest difference in terms of if who's scaling, who's not, or if we scale, if we don't, or how far we really scale, right, and how far we really go, right? Interpretation. So that is going to conclude this video. I'm going to leave y'all on that note. Interpretation, and just being able to take whatever type of information and let your soul interpret that, and let it just compartmentalize or categorize, be categorized by your soul, and let your soul lay down the foundation of how things get compartmentalized. And then just, when you see it externally, you can just go ahead and take it and apply it, and you can fit it in one of those categories and compartmentalize it better, right? So that is going to conclude this video. I love y'all. Peace, love. I hope somebody was able to actually get into this video, which was, very, 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 choppy, just like, how we do it when we stay off the the microphone too long. The videos get choppy. But very good information, a lot of information. We're definitely going to be making like parts 2s and 3s to this topic right here. This is going to be the interpretation. This is the interpretation, y'all. And we're going to get more interpretation part 2, I think. I think this is, but anyway, we're going to get more of these, and we're going to talk about this more. In terms of interpretation. Very important, very crucial, and this is going to be a big topic and big discussion for us, that we're going to keep coming back to, right? But anyway, peace, love. We'll catch you on the next one, and we out this joint. Don't forget to check out my other channels, Deep Art, Deep Rhythm, or Critical Thought JB, and don't forget to check out my IG as well. My IG, Deep Art, Deep 3 Art. Don't forget to check out that IG. We got a lot of good, nice, structured art on there. We're going to be posting more art on there. That way we can compartmentalize a lot more of the information that we give out. And be able to, conceptualize those things going forward, right? And go from there. So that's going to conclude this video right here. Love y'all. Leave a like, man. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, you know what I'm saying? And so we can, get some of this information out there, right? I do this for informational purposes, you know what I'm saying? Cause I'm a, this is just what I do, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm a person who is adamant about getting this type of information out and changing the mind state and the mind structure of, you know what I'm saying, most people, you know what I'm saying? So that's number one for me. That's what we're about. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and let's go ahead and try to do that and get this up there, man, because I want everybody to be innovative and creative, man, like me, man. So that's gonna conclude this video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Hope to see y'all crafting out yourselves, man, and doing you, man, and just, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because that's the idea, right? You know what I'm saying? Just doing you, bro. Like, but anyway, I'm gonna conclude this video right here. Peace, love, and we out this joint, man. Let's get it, yo.